Lauri Vallow Daybell, a name forever etched in history not only due to her horrific crimes, but also because of how deep fanaticism and belief in one's mission can destroy not only lives, but the destinies of entire families. What drove Lauri, once a model mother and devout Christian, to plunge into the abyss of dark beliefs and make decisions that forever changed the lives of those who loved her? Born on June 26, 1973, in San Bernardino, California, Lauri Noreen Cox grew up in a typical American family. She was an ordinary girl with dreams and ambitions, not differing much from her peers. Her life, at first glance, consisted of a series of ordinary events: early marriage, the birth of children, divorce, and the search for new happiness. Lauri went through several marriages, each leaving its mark on her life. However, it was her third marriage to Joseph Ryan that first hinted that her life might take a different path. Joseph Ryan was the father of Tylee, and their marriage ended in divorce in 2004. After that, Lauri married Charles Vallow, with whom they adopted Joshua J.J. Vallow. On the surface, everything seemed fine. Lauri was a model mother, actively involved in church life and raising her children with love and religious values. But over time, something changed. In 2018, Lauri's life changed when she met Chad Daybell, a self-proclaimed prophet and author of books about the end of the world. This meeting was a turning point in her life, leading to irreversible consequences. Chad was a man who preached about how the apocalypse was imminent, and only the chosen few would survive and witness a new world. Lauri, who had previously shown an interest in religious teachings, fell under his influence. She began to believe that she was part of a grand plan and that she had to fulfill her mission. Chad Daybell, by then already having a reputation among his followers as a prophet, quickly captured Lauri's attention. His teachings about light and darkness, about people having pure or dark souls, became the foundation of their joint life. He convinced Lauri that her husband Charles Vallow, as well as her children, JJ and Tylee, had dark souls, and that they were hindering her spiritual development. These beliefs laid the groundwork for the future crimes they would commit together. On October 19, 2019, under mysterious circumstances, Tammy Daybell, Chad's wife, her death was initially deemed natural, and at that time, no one suspected anything sinister. Just a few weeks after her death, Lauri and Chad married. This hastiness aroused suspicion among family and friends, but even they could not imagine that something more than just an unexpected marriage was behind it. When Tammy Daybell died, the police did not perform an autopsy because Chad convinced the authorities that her death was natural. This critical error allowed the couple to continue their plans unimpeded. They quickly moved to Rexburg, Idaho, where they began a new life, concealing their true intentions from the public. Events took a horrifying turn when JJ and Tylee disappeared in November 2019. Charles Vallow's parents, who were JJ's guardians, raised the alarm when they were unable to contact their grandchildren. The police began an investigation, but faced Lauri's unwillingness to cooperate. When law enforcement arrived at her home for a welfare check, they found the house abandoned. Concern grew when Lauri and Chad suddenly vanished and were later found in Hawaii. They fled, avoiding questions about the children's whereabouts. In February 2020, they were arrested for refusing to provide information about JJ and Tylee's location. This moment marked the culmination of events that had been unfolding for nearly a year. After the arrest, under the pressure of public and media scrutiny, the police conducted a thorough investigation, and on June 9, 2020, discovered the remains of the children on Chad's property in Rexburg. This was a horrifying revelation that confirmed the worst fears of family and friends. The investigation revealed that the children's deaths were deliberate and brutal. JJ was suffocated with a plastic bag, and his mouth was taped shut. Tylee suffered horrific violence. Her body was burned and dismembered. These facts shocked and outraged the public, but were just the tip of the iceberg in the Lauri and Chad case. During the investigation, it became clear that the couple believed in their own messianic mission, which involved eliminating dark souls who, in their view, threatened their spiritual ascension. Chad, who proclaimed himself a prophet, convinced Lauri that her children were zombies, whose spiritual essence had already left their bodies, and that they needed to be liberated. Lauri Vallow Daybell's trial began in April 2023, and during it, all the horrific details of the case were revealed. Prosecutors emphasized that Lauri and Chad's motives were a combination of money, power, and religious beliefs. It was also suggested that their religious group, which could be described as a cult, aimed at preparing for the end of the world and removing anyone they deemed a threat to their spiritual enlightenment. One of the most shocking moments of the trial was the testimony of Detective Rex Hermosillo, who described the condition in which the children's bodies were found. The photographs accompanying his testimony were so horrifying that Lauri requested permission to leave the courtroom, but the judge denied her request. On May 12, 2023, Lauri Vallow Daybell was found guilty of murder and grand theft. She showed no emotion during the sentencing, which only heightened public outrage. In July 2023, Lauri Vallow Daybell was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Before the sentencing, she attempted to justify her actions by claiming that her children and Tammy Daybell were not murdered, but had died from unfortunate accidents. Her defense argued that she was mentally incompetent and could not understand her actions, but these arguments were dismissed by the court. The Lauri Vallow Daybell case left a deep mark on society. It became a lesson on how faith can become a destructive force when combined with manipulation and cruelty. The families of the deceased children, the Rexburg community, and all who followed the case are trying to find a path to healing after such horrific events. The Lauri Vallow Daybell case is also studied as an example of how religious fanaticism can affect a person's mental state and lead to extreme and often fatal actions. It has also become a prompt for deeper examination of the psychological impact on individuals who fall under the influence of manipulators and cult leaders. Lauri Vallow Daybell will remain in history as a symbol of how darkness can penetrate even the brightest corners of life, and how crucial it is to recognize and prevent destructive beliefs that can lead to unspeakable tragedies.